Hey guys, wanted to bring you another NFL documentary review on the NFL Network called Caught in the Draft 1985 Schemes and Dreams. Reason why I wanted to bring this attention, and I guess they're doing this documentary about certain drafts that kind of turn the NFL. Um, so this was kind of interesting because, well, I was only about, well, I don't want to give my age. So I was pretty young where I didn't watch football then, but it was a great history lesson, I guess you could think of. So because of the 84 draft, teams were looking for the next Dan Marino, but in this particular draft, there was really no Dan Marino that was ready to jump in as being the starting quarterback. So they were thinking Kozar was someone, but he was in a special rule, I guess, and he didn't want to play for the Minnesota Vikings. Actually, a lot of them did not want to play for the Vikings as documentary. And so he was like the LeBron James in that era. He was the one that wanted to play for Cleveland, where he grew up, and said, hey, I want to bring a championship to this team and go back to them. So what he did was that he didn't enter to this draft, but into supplemental draft. So there was a supplemental draft, and Cleveland owned that. So they selected Bernie Kosar as the first quarterback to be selected out of the supplemental draft overall. Now, overall, the first quarterback that was selected was Randall Cunningham, and yeah, so he was the first quarterback that was officially on the record book of that year that was drafted. But overall, the first pick of that year was Bruce Smith, and actually, this was a really great draft for the Buffalo Bills. But let's go back, and what was interesting was Steve Calabrese was supposedly going to be the first, or was rated high. His skills was very high as a quarterback, and was rated highest out of everybody. So, but he kept slipping, and nobody knew why he wasn't going to be drafted. So the problem was that, yeah, he was rated high in all this, and I guess because the USFL was there and he signed with them. So that's why his career didn't turn out the way it could have, because that's how they kind of present it. And they also present like nobody wanted to play Minnesota, so a lot of players that they wanted, like Bernie Kosar and Bill Flalick, they pretty much had to miss out. So Minnesota was supposed to pick number 2, but they missed out on their time, so they dropped all the way to number 4. I guess you could say as part of a trade or something, but they actually ended up not too bad because they actually got a Hall of Famer in Chris Dolman. So that worked out for them. And so this draft was very interesting for them in that sense. And Eddie Brown was actually supposed to be rated as one of the, he was projected as number 2 originally, but he was not the first wide receiver to be selected, because I guess there was rumors that he was going to go play for the USFL. So what happened was Al Toon with the New York Jets was with the number 10th pick, drafted Al Toon as the first wide receiver, and then number 13, the Cincinnati Bengals chose Eddie Brown, and actually San Francisco tried trading to get Eddie Brown and was afraid that all 3 wide receivers was going to be out. So they were able to make the trade with New England and get to the number 16 spot for Jerry Rice. So that worked out really well for those two. So that's another Hall of Famer player that came out from that draft. Also, I was surprised, but I didn't know Busta Rhymes actually played football. He actually played for the Minnesota Vikings, so that was kind of surprising too. The Eagles was the first one that chose a quarterback officially, and that was Randall Cunningham. Bills did a really good job, if you think about it, on hindsight now, that they chose Bruce Smith and Andre Reed, two Hall of Famers right there. So that was two building block players, and actually Bill Polian, that was helping with the draft and the head coach at the time, um, said those two had to do the right thing, and they were afraid that they could lose their jobs, but they knew they had to do the right thing for the owner, and didn't trade all those draft picks or any of those picks to get players that were ready. So they actually was honorable in that sense to keep those players. Perry Jones was a big surprise. I guess they were projecting him originally in the 5th round, but he actually ended up being a lot better than a lot of players expected. So that was something that was very interesting, because he went to number 22, and that was in the 1st round, and nobody thought he was going to be anywhere close to being in the 1st round. So yeah, Steve Calabari never took a snap with the NFL team, but he was with the Bucks training camp. There was 5 quarterbacks, and that's including Steve Young, so obviously they were only going to keep 2. Pass rushers in this particular draft was very good, because you actually have 3 of the top 4 in sack leaders from this draft: Chris Dolman, Bruce Smith, and Kevin Green. So that was something interesting to learn. So go ahead and like and share, comment, subscribe, and what you thought of this documentary. And I would say go ahead and check it out. It's if you think about it, it is kind of like history in the making, and what they were able to accomplish on these players, and the twists and turns that was involved in the draft, especially if you didn't watch the draft, but it was actually a turnkey historian of the NFL would have been appreciating this part of the game. Alright, thanks.